Thanks, everybody. All right, we did it. We did it. All
Morning.
right, morning. Thanks for bearing with me. All
It's all
right.
good.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity to chat with you
Mm.
and to hear your story. And tons of people have been wanting to hear more about you, and I've checked out your content. And yeah, am I saying your name right? Chow, is that correct?
Ciao, yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Okay. Um, yeah. So I kind of wanted to just give you a chance to just talk and tell us your story, and we can just go from there. We can just talk about whatever you want, what you
Okay.
want us to know, and I don't know. Go for it.
Well,
And we can talk whatever. We can answer questions that people throw out at us. Yeah, just
right. So for those that don't know me, my username is Ciao Papa, and I am well, I was unvaccinated when I got COVID. Um, Me and my family, we took a vacation that we already had paid for before the pandemic even started. So, um, when the vaccine came out, I mean, it was hard to get in right away. So we scheduled ours about the middle of January, but we could not get in till February 6th. So after said and done, I myself was pretty iffy about taking the vacation because I said, you know what, we've been taking every right precaution, like we wear a mask, we do everything. Like I was still hesitant. But my mother was like, hey, let's take our vacation. And I was like, all right, let's go. So we were supposed to be there for 7 to 8 days. Um, After said and done, on the third day, I've noticed my mom wasn't wearing her mask because my mom smokes cigarettes. So I got mad with her and I said, what are you doing? There's a ton of people here. Like, put your mask on, you know? And I yelled at her. So around the fourth day, she said she started getting light headaches. She wasn't feeling too well, this and that. And I'm like, okay. On the fifth day, all she did was sleep. And I said, Mom, you need to get up. Something's wrong with you. I myself started getting little light headaches. I wasn't short of breath.
oh, Chow. I think you got kicked off. I think you got disconnected. Hopefully, I'll be able to hop back on. Um, Let me see. Okay, he got disconnected. Hopefully he'll be able to come back on and we'll add him back in. But he was just talking about. It sounds like it was last February that him and his mom got symptoms, and they hadn't had a chance quite to get the vaccine. Let me see if he's. I'm sure he'll hop back on. Let me see if he's. Okay, I don't know if it's his connection or what, but so yeah, it sounds like he was just right at the cusp of getting the vaccine, um, and he him and his mom started to get symptoms. I can kind of start asking questions, answering some questions that people are putting in here as we're waiting for him to come back on. What does ECMO stand for? Is what I just saw someone comment. It's a extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. Extracorporeal means outside of the body, so it's a machine that sits outside the body that takes blood continuously out of someone's body. It oxygenates it and then it returns it. And Chow was on ECMO. From what I understand from his story and looking at watching his TikTok videos and talking with him, he was intubated. He had a breathing tube placed from COVID once his symptoms started getting worse, and then and he was sedated. And then when someone gets intubated and is on a breathing tube, Sometimes we can keep their oxygen levels good enough. We prone them, put them on their belly. That helps them oxygenate their lungs. There's a couple mechanisms why that's helpful. But sometimes that's not enough, and it's not enough to get appropriate oxygen to their brain and to their organs, because you can go into end organ failure. And so sometimes these people will require ECMO, where we put these tubes in their, usually there's many different configurations, but we'll put them in their neck or their groin, and we run this machine, and we continuously draw blood out of their body, oxygenate it, and continuously put it back in. And Chow was placed on that. And these are the types of patients that I take care of. I've taken care of them many times. Let me just see if he's jumped back on. He has not, but that's okay. We got time to wait for him. So from my experience, so once you're in that spot, once you're placed on ECMO for COVID, there's many different reasons to be put on ECMO, which is another discussion. But once you're put on ECMO with COVID, the data is at the moment you have about a 50% chance of dying on ECMO or surviving, and ultimately, and leaving the hospital, it might be more of a 30 to 40% chance. The data is still, it's not totally complete, but that's kind of where it is. So the fact that Chow has survived and he's here to tell us his story is a remarkable thing. He beat a lot of odds. You can see that he has oxygen in his nose. To say that he has long COVID is a understatement. Someone like him likely has fibrotic lung changes. So he probably, fibrotic lung changes means scarring of the lungs. When someone is on ECMO in a vent for that long, they can get scarring of the lungs, and they're going to have long-term lung damage. I don't know Chow specifics, but I suspect that he probably has that, and that's why he's on oxygen. I just check to see if he's jumped back on. Haven't seen him back on yet. So usually these patients, when they're on ECMO, when we initially put them on, they're very sick. Their lungs are like cement. I mean, they have tons of consolidations in their lungs. They have all this inflammatory tissue. They have fluid. They have, not only do they have air in their airways, they have fluid in the actual lung tissue itself, where gas exchange happens. And we usually sedate them. Part of my practice, we'll sedate them for days. Sometimes we won't even wake them up, because their lungs, even on ECMO, their lungs are they're in such a bad state that even turning off their sedation and getting them to wake up and open their eyes and moving their muscles, just by moving your muscles, you consume oxygen. Anytime you get up off the couch or whatever and you walk around, your oxygen consumption of your body goes up. Your requirements start going up. Usually when we're healthy and walking around, we can meet that demand. If you have COVID and you're on ECMO, you cannot meet that demand. Even the ECMO support is not enough. So sometimes when we turn the sedation off in these patients, their SpO2 or their oxygen saturation drops. Just by waking them up, just by having them open their eyes, it can drop to 50%. That person is not going to tolerate being woken up for a while. Sometimes we just kind of cool them off sedation, and what is like a medically induced coma, we'll keep them on it for sometimes 5, 6, 7 days, 10 days, because every time we try to wake them up, they don't tolerate it. And so sometimes we can't even get people out of that state. And every time we wake them up, weeks pass by, and every time we try to wake them up, they don't tolerate it, and they can code. So sometimes people will die in that state, that we can't even progress from there. From there, if they're the next step is, once we turn off sedation, they are able to wake up, their oxygen is stable. That's when we try to get them out of bed. We try to get their legs dangling out of bed, which is a huge triumph when we're even able to do that. Sometimes it takes weeks to get people to do that. We get their legs dangling, and then you can get these people, patients like Chow, you can get them standing. You can have them walking around on ECMO, on a vent with a trach in their tracheostomy in their trachea, walking around. And we just max out our ECMO settings. We just turn everything up and get them walking around the unit. That is the only way these patients will survive, is if we can get them in that state. But as I said, it's hard to even get people in that state to begin with. Let me just double check, see if Chow's back on. I'm happy to, talk all day about this kind of stuff, but I really I want to hear, we're all here to hear post ICU course and how he's doing. I haven't seen him jump back on. Unfortunately, he's probably having some internet connections, which is fine. He can't join. We'll do this, with him another time. That's not a problem. But we'll keep on here and keep chatting. Yeah, I don't think he's jumped back on yet. Yeah.
Maybe just set it up again so we can get him on here.
Like go out of the live and come back in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll come out of this live, and then I'll see if he's because I can't. I'm seeing that he hasn't joined back in. Let me do this. Let me see. Yeah, maybe that's the best thing to do. I'm gonna stop this live and I'll start a new one and hopefully we can get him to join back in. Okay, so everyone just hang tight. Oh wait, I got a guest request. Maybe that's him. Oh, it's him here. He's here. He's coming in. All
Sorry
right, you're
about that.
back. That's okay.
I
Well,
was
I'm so glad you're
wondering.
back.
I was like, he seems frozen, or is it me?
Was it? Do you think it was it something on my end? I don't know. It could be. I'm in the
I don't
basement
know.
of my
I,
house.
I I kept seeing the comments come in, but that was it. What's the last thing that you heard? You froze again, doctor.
What's that?
There we go.
That was that
Um,
time. That was me. My
What is the
phone
last?
did something.
Oh,
You were talking about let's see, where were we at? You were talking about how um you decided to go on vacation with your mom. She started having symptoms, you started having symptoms. I think that's where we were at.
okay. So then, um, she started getting worse when we were on the highway. So I turned on the AC. I cranked up her oxygen higher than when she was at. She was on O2 on 2 liters, and I said she's not breathing. So I took the initiative to say, you know what? I'm gonna raise it one more for her to give her a little bit more oxygen till I get her to the hospital. Because I know I'm not a doctor. Was that a bad thing? I don't know. She just was not breathing right. And we
Mm-hmm.
were still 2 hours away from the closest hospital. So I called 911 dispatch and I told dispatch, hey, dispatch, this is my vehicle, my license number. This is who I am. I'm coming in hot. Like I pretty much said police lane terms. I booked it over 100 to get her there. I said, my mom's not
Wow.
breathing, so you're aware. And yeah, they actually, when we were going into the city of Phoenix, they had a cop behind us, like in front of me, I mean, getting us to the hospital because they
Wow.
already knew. And so we got there in about 2.5 hours later, they told us she's confirmed COVID. So I was like, okay. So I told my sister, stay away from me. I'm exposed. My daughter's exposed, but we just don't want you. We don't know what's going on. Like, just, you know, I'm going to go get a hotel room for the day. We'll figure everything out. Like, we'll see what's going on. So after said and done, um, that night when I checked into the hotel room, my body started hurting. I thought it was just me being freaking out with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I said it's playing heads, mind games, something. No, and then I wasn't so much having trouble breathing, but I was very slightly. But one thing that did hurt was my lungs. They were hurting. So I started drinking some water. I went and got some cranberry juice. I did advise the hotel, like, hey, look, I was exposed. I will pay the extra fee. Can you just keep people away from my room? Because this is what's going on. And they were, I mean, great with me. They're like, yeah, no problem.
Wow.
And they sanitized the room because I wanted to make sure I didn't leave that in the room for a housekeeper, somebody, because we didn't know. So they're like, we have to charge you a bigger fee just because we have to sanitize. I said, that's okay. Charge me what you got to charge me. All I care about is safety right now. I'm good with that. And so after said and done the next day, I told my daughter, you know what? We need to get back home. We'll get fresh clothes. We'll do a few things. And the following day, we'll drive back up with grandma. and we'll figure everything out. So I was about maybe 40 miles on the highway and I could not see. My eyes felt so heavy, I couldn't breathe. And I said, you know what? Something's not right. I told my daughter, you need to drive. Just get us home. She's like, Dad, I'm nervous because she's never driven in a major city. We live in a city, but not that big. And I said, just get us there, 65, 70. It's okay. Take your time. Just get us home. So yeah, she got us home and I said, I need to lay down. I was having slight trouble breathing, but my body felt like a 500-pound rock was on top of me. And so after said and done, it was around maybe 9 p.m. or so. I told my daughter, you know what? We need to call the ambulance. Something's just not right. So we did. They came and they told me, sir, your O2's at 80 something. I need to get you to the hospital. And I said, okay. So sure enough, after said and done, I can't tell you how many hours before had passed. I'm guessing maybe a couple, maybe longer. They said, you are confirmed COVID. We're going to give your daughter the update. And I said, okay. They took me into the ICU. They put me on oxygen, started taking x-rays of everything, the procedures they took, blood work, IVs, everything. And I saw the sun come up, but my eyes were hurting, but I remember the sun coming up. And then the doctor said, I got to higher your oxygen because you're dropping. You're like, I was, I think, at 50%, and I was still about 90, 89 and 90. It was up and down.
Wow. And that was
And he
with
said,
oxygen in your nose?
yes, uh-huh.
That was with
And he
oxygen.
says, yeah, he says, I have to hire it higher for you to see where we stand. They took another x-ray and then they noticed my left lung popped. The first one didn't show any of those. He says, your left lung just popped. I need you to lay on your stomach so I can open up your lungs. And I've
Oh,
never laid that long on my stomach. So now they come in with this big old, like, Darth Vader mask. And you just
yep.
hear, like, it sounded like 100 miles an hour just shooting hard. So I was at
Wow.
100%, and my O2s were still at 85. So
Oh,
one doctor came in and said, look, with the respiratory therapist, said, I have to intubate you. If you don't, you're going to die. And I said, first one, the way the RT explained it to me, she did a great job, but I wasn't convinced. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I'm not a
yeah.
doctor.
You weren't convinced that you
And
you you needed to be intubated, or
yeah,
what do you mean?
intubated,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wasn't questioning their authority, just the way she put it. I was
Hmm.
like, what? Like, really? And so about maybe 4 hours later, the doctor came back and said, look, Robert, this is what's going on. I'm being real with you. I saw another RT and I said, ma'am, you look like me. Tell me how it is. Do not sugarcoat me. Do not, just tell me what's happening. She's like, you want the truth? I said, the truth. She's like, you're going to die. And I was like, okay. She's like, we have a slight chance of saving you. If we intubate you, she's all, I can't promise you you're going to live.
Yeah.
I said, what are my chances? She's all, the truth. I said, just hit me with it. She said, 5, 10%. And I said, wow. I said, okay, I need a little bit of time to speak
Yeah.
with my daughter and I need to find out what's going on. See, when I finally talked to my daughter, I was 5 days in the hospital already.
So this was five
So
days when you needed a breathing tube. 5 days in the hospital.
yeah, when they were about to
Yeah.
intubate me, I was already 5 days in the hospital. So my daughter started crying and I said, Mijita, don't cry. Like, I'll be back. And she's like, Dad, like they just intubated grandma. And I'm
Oh
like, crap.
my gosh.
So I said, look, let's put grandma to a side real quick. This is what I need you to do. I said, the last hour I got to talk to her, it wasn't even an hour. Like I went quick and I said, this is what you need to do with the finances. I need you to grab my
Oh,
checkbook. You write yourself a check, sign my name. I said, you know how to sign my name, and you go take out every penny in that account. And
oh
she's
my
like, Dad,
gosh.
are they going to cash a check that high? I said, they will. I will call the bank and they'll cash it. So
Do
she
you,
wrote
do
a
you mind
check
if I ask
for,
how? Do you mind if I ask how old your daughter was?
My daughter's 23. Mhm. And then I told her, I said, you know where my credit cards are at? I said, you do what you gotta do. If you gotta max out the credit cards, I said, whatever happens, if I die and you can't afford that house, you leave. You go max out those credit cards. You take all the money, all the paperwork for the life insurance is right here. You know who you need to get in contact with. And she started crying. I said, I mean, I'm not scaring you, but we have to prepare, you know? And so, you know, telling your kid, I made a promise I shouldn't have kept. I should have never promised, you know, but I had to comfort her. And she's like, Dad, promise me you'll be back. And I stood quiet for a little bit and I said, yes. And I don't promise things like that to my daughter because I know better. I know better. So after said and done, I was intubated and I didn't know I was airlifted to a different hospital while I was intubated because I needed ECMO. So I remember everything when I was on intubated. I heard nurses, I heard the doctors. I remember fighting at times so hard to wake up to like notify them I'm still here. So I can't tell you how long before. I can tell you when I woke up, but like during the time frame, what day it was or what. But I remember the doctors walked in and I heard them. They had me on ECMO, ventilator, feeding tube. They had to put 8 one-way valves in my left lung because my heart was about to stop. So I remember the doctors walking in, and I remember three voices of those three doctors, and I remember them telling the nurses, leave the room and close the door. And I was hearing them, and they said, I think it's time we tell his daughter he's not going to make it. So when I heard that, doctor, I fought so dang hard to wake up and tell him, like, I'm right here, guys. I'm
Yeah.
right here, you know, but I couldn't. I just couldn't, you know. So they had my daughter drive up the 3 hours to the different hospital and they let her see me to pretty much say goodbye. I didn't know they had to put her in the full gear suit
Mhm.
because of, you know, COVID and all that. So I remember her holding my hand and she was crying. And she's like, Dad, you promised you'd be back for my college graduation. And God, that broke me. I remember yelling, like I wanted to yell so bad, like I'm right here. So one doctor finally said, I'm not gonna do it yet. We're gonna give him a little bit more time. Like he's not showing progress, but let's give him a little bit more time. Two out of the three wanted to. And so after said and done, I wound up waking up. It was either March 17th or March 18th. I was in a coma for 6 weeks. And so when I woke up and I remember opening up my eyes, I was in and out of it, don't get me wrong, but I remember seeing so many people rush in the room and the nurses telling me, don't move, like we're putting you back to sleep. They were explaining what was happening because they had to take the tube out of my mouth. So I can't tell you how many more days or hours, I'm guessing days I was asleep because when I finally came to my conscience, I was waking in and out, telling them I'm in pain, I'm hurting. Um, they were giving me medicine. And so when I was able to finally talk and come to my conscience, um, I had made the nurses laugh because I told them, am I allowed to have visitors or can I call my family? And they're all like, yeah, you know, your daughter can come see you, but we don't think she's gonna make it. And I'm like, well, what time is it? And I think she said it was like either 4 or 5. And I said, well, what time are visiting hours over? She's they're over at 9, and I said, well, I live 10 minutes from the hospital. Why would she make it? And they're like, do you know where you're at? And I was like, yeah. And then I said the hospital name, and she's like, no, sir, this is where you're at. And I was like, wait, what? And I said the F word. I said, where the F is that? And they started laughing. And they're like, we had to
Because
airlift you
you didn't know
over.
you had,
Yeah, I didn't know I
you
was
didn't know you had been,
airlifted.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And she's just like, I'm like, oh, I guess my daughter's not going to make it. And so when I finally was able to call my daughter, she didn't believe it was me. And I'm like, mijita, because I call her Flaca. And I was like, Flaca, it's me, man. And she started like crying, smiling. And she's like, Dad. And I was like, I'm back, mijita. And she's just like, oh my God. And I said, how's grandma doing? And she stood a little quiet. She's all, but Dad, grandma's still intubated. And I was like, all right. And I said, well, how are you doing with everything? And she's like, well, Dad, this is what's going on. I had to do some things. I said, it's okay. Don't worry about the finances. You just do what you got to do. I already told you that. She's like, all right. And I said, get your things in order. Let your work know that you're going to come over here on the weekends to see if they can work with you. She's like, okay. And yeah, they approved it. They said, we'll put you Monday through Friday so you can go be with your dad and your grandmother. Well, she said grandmother to explain to me. And so finally, when I got to see her, was the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And the doctors eventually told me, hey, I got a trachea, um, and everything. And I said, okay. So before they took my voice, I kept asking. I called my sister and I was like, hey, how's mom doing? And my sister's like, oh, she's still intubated. And I was like, all right. And so I went about it and this and that. So when the doctors came in, I said, Doctor, how many doctors am I seeing? He's all, there's three of us. And I said, can you guys come in? Are they all here right now? He's like, yeah. I said, do me a favor. Can you guys come in? He's like, sure. And I said, this is going to sound so weird to you guys. I said, but I need you to do this for me. I said, just carry a conversation on about yourselves. Talk about whatever. But when I tell one of you to stop, because I learned their names, just stop and I'll explain after. They looked at me really weird, right?
Mhm.
And so they started talking, and I told Dr. Quintana, stop talking. Then the other two started talking, and then I talked to Dr. Akbar, stop talking. And then the final one was Dr. C. And I said, I'm going to say it this way. And I looked at two of them and I said, look, I am not mad with you guys 100%. I want you to know that. They're like, what are you talking about? I said, I understand why you guys wanted to pull the plug. You didn't want to see no more suffering. I am not mad with you 100%. I want you to know that. They looked at me shocked and I said, Dr. C, I want to thank you. And I told him word for word when they had their conversation. And he's like, you heard everything? I said, yes, I did. I said, I heard everything. I said, I can hear the nurses when they come talk to me. I remember one nurse holding my hand, um, crying, saying, don't die. Enough of you guys have died. Please don't die. You got to fight. I remember her telling me, you have kids. You have a daughter who loves you. And oh my God, I remember that because I was yelling, like, please let her know I'm right here. I remember when they brought my daughter to come see me and they had to put her in the full gear to say goodbye. I remember my daughter holding my hand, saying, Dad, you're my hero. You promised you'd be back for my graduation, everything. And God, like, I remember yelling, like, baby girl, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Yeah.
And so when I finally saw my daughter, I told her, and she gave me a big old hug. She's like, Dad, I didn't think you heard me. I said, yeah, I heard everything. I heard everything. So after said and done, some more time passed by, and they said, okay, we got to trach you. So they gave me, I think it was fentanyl because they put me out right away,
Mhm.
and they trached me. So I had to learn a little bit, the beginning stages of sign language to let them know the pain I was in. they can hear me if they got up real close, but it was hard. Before to
with the
talk,
trach after the
yeah,
trach. Yeah.
because they also capped me, right, Mia? I had to get capped.
Mhm.
Um, and so after a while, I kept hearing this code, this code, this code. So finally, I got the courage to ask the nurses. I said, "You don't have to tell me." I said, "But I'm hearing this so much throughout the day and night. What is that?" And the nurse just looked at me and she held my hand. She says, "You're a miracle. Just remember that." And I said, "Okay." And they're like, "You are a miracle." And I said, I understand what you're telling me, but what's going on?" She's like, "Since you've been here, you're the 384th person, in this hospital right now with COVID." She says, "You're number 4 to survive."
Oh my gosh.
And I looked at her and I said, 380 people died? She's like, 380 people. And I remember hearing it. I lost count because it was constant, constant, constant. I remember hearing families cry all the time, over the phones, in person, everything. And so I was like, wow. And so they brought in a team, PT team, RTs, to try to get me to stand because I was in bed for so long. I had lost, I went from 205 to 144,
Wow. Yeah.
144 pounds. I lost like 60 some pounds. So
Wow.
I had no muscles. Like I could barely lift my arms, you know.
Hmm.
So we started doing a little bit of training, this and that. I saw so many different teams a day. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
So now after said and done, like the doctors, let me tell you, this team there, the way they helped me was just amazing, amazing, you know. And when the doctors came in and they're like, and I told them, doctor, I said, "I'm number 4 to survive," huh? And he's like, "You are." He's all, "You are a miracle." And it was Dr. C that was talking to me. And I said, I don't say his full name because of his protection. Okay.
Sure.
That's why I
Yep.
call him Dr.
Absolutely.
C. Because
Yep.
he's a well-known doctor, but with everything going on, I protect their identities.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, it just, when you survive COVID, doctor, your troubles just started. And this is why I say this. I've never experienced this in my life. I've been in a car accident. I've dropped my Harley Davidson. I had scratches, bruises, nothing crazy. But this is the worst in the world. The worst. And I can tolerate pain. But let me tell you, this kind of pain, oh my God. Like, no. I mean, I was getting so much medication 24/7 that I was happy when that hour came because they were giving me fentanyl every 3 hours. Every 2 hours, I was taking another medication, and it was just throughout the day. When I started learning more about ECMO, um, I was just like, wow, like, what is this machine? Because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they're like, so it circulates your blood, it cleans it out, and it puts it back in your body. And I was like, oh, okay. And I did um, call Antimita, tell her I'm on the live. And sorry.
That's fine.
Uh, So I started, I believe I needed some more blood because I remember seeing patches come in just to help me, because I did lose blood. And I was like, okay. Um, when I was able to go to rehab, oh my God, let me tell you, breathing, like I couldn't even walk maybe 3 or 4 steps and I was breathless. Like I felt like I was having a heart attack because I was gasping for air. And my rehab team told me, look, this is how it is. This is what's going on. And I was like, okay. So they told me, you might be in here for some time. And I was like, how long are we looking? He's like, it all depends on you, but you're looking minimum a month. I said, wait, man. I said, I promised my daughter I'd make her graduation. I said, she graduates from college May 15th. I have to be there. I have to be there. And they're like, we can't promise that. That's all up on you. So the rehab doctor came in and said, look, we're going to try this 3 hours a day, 7 days a week until we can see what we can do for you. I was like, all right. So I got a little bit better as we went, but I could not walk still. I had to use my wheelchair, of course, my walker, all that. So I finally was able on my walker to hit 200 steps.
Wow.
But oh my God, hitting those 200 steps, breathing wise, was the worst, you know.
Was this on or off
Um,
ECMO? Were you taken off it
Uh,
by this
I
point? Were
was
you?
no, this was on with without ECMO.
Hmm.
I was on ECMO until about a week before I was discharged.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in the ICU from the day I went in until a week before I was discharged.
Wow.
Hmm. And so now, I mean, your body hurts, your pain, your sleeping schedules, brain fog, I mean, memory loss, PTSD. I have it all. There's days that, I mean, I didn't go to bed till almost 5:30 this morning, and I was up by 8.
From
You know.
from like PTSD and insomnia and
Hmm.
mm,
So it was a lot, you know. And after said and done, yeah, I wasn't able to make it, but I mean, I was still in rehab. So total, it was about 5 months with everything. By the time I got
yeah.
out, and so they finally discharged me home. It took me about another 3.5 months before I was actually able to walk, not normal, but better. So I still used the wheelchair for about 3.5 more months. Honestly, the doctors for a while thought that I wasn't going to be able to walk anymore, like fully, you know.
Yeah.
But when he told me that, it didn't phase me. I said, he's like, you're not scared? I said, no. I said, I ride a Harley for a living, man. Like, if I'm paralyzed, I'm alive. I get to be with my kids, you know.
Yeah.
I told him that's the biggest key. Like, I'm here with my children, you know.
Yeah.
But in April, one weekend when my daughter came, I was like, hey, mijita, like, what's the progress on grandma and this and that? And she like was having a bad day and she started crying. And I said, look, just hit me with it, you know? And she's like, Dad, I lied to you. And I said, okay. And then she's like, forgive me. And I was like, what happened, mijita? She's like, grandma died. And I was like, okay. I said, when did she die? And she's like, Dad, grandma died February 4th on her birthday. And I looked at her and I was like, Grandma's been dead for 2 months. She's like, we couldn't tell you that. She's all because we needed you to live. And I said, I understand, Nikita. So yesterday was my mom's 1 year anniversary.
I'm so sorry.
You know, I tell myself I regret taking that trip. I regret it. And the last conversation that eats me alive, doctor, is that I yelled at my mom for not wearing her mask. That is the last time I talked to her.
I can understand why you would have regret over that, but the most important thing is the relationship you have with your mom and what it was and what it meant to you. That's what matters. I mean, those small things, they don't matter.
She's my queen, doctor.
Yeah.
She is the reason I'm successful in life.
Wow.
That lady, He worked 2 jobs to put me through college.
Oh my gosh. Wow. She sounds like an amazing person.
So I tell everybody this, doctor. Trying, I'm still in rehab 3 days a week. I'm still seeing my lung specialist. I'm still on oxygen 24/7. My walking, I could do a good 7 minutes and I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I have to sit down.
Mhm.
Um, your body, your joints, everything. I tell people this, the worst part is all that plus the stress of financials.
Yeah.
You go from a good life to nothing. Not only that, your medical bills are astounding, outstanding.
Yeah.
My medical bills, just my hospital bill alone, was $2.15 million.
That is unbelievable.
As of the beginning of middle of January, no, December, middle of December, I surpassed over 3 million already.
It is it is insane that this is the system that we live in with.
Hmm.
That someone like you has is that not only that treatment costs that much money. It does not need to
Yeah.
cost that much. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely.
And so now I do the best we can. My daughter, she's always been my ride or die. Like ever since I adopted her at 9 years old, she's never left my side.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and now I tell her, she's successful. All she's waiting for now is, she had to go in as a second year student for the nursing program because my daughter has
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to be a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
always.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so I told her let's go in as a second year student. And then she's like, she wanted to take a break. And I was like iffy about it. I said, no, I understand our financial situation, but no, like, I'm not going to let you stop your future. I said, Mijita, this world needs you. I said, this world needs nurses. I said, so I need you to follow your dreams. And she's like, well,
Huh.
Dad, you're part of my dream. I said, I love everything about that, but my dream for you is to become successful. I tell her, one way or another, we're going to figure this out, you know. But day by day, I tell her, Mita, day by day, you know. I just now, like I said, my son, he has his own life, and that's okay. I'm not mad about that. I want that for my son, because she's a twin. They're a set of twins.
Oh wow.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my son is in San Diego, and I want him to live his life. I said, I got my daughter here. Like I'm good. My kids are here. And so it just I don't want this for anybody. I don't. Here's why, doctor. This can drive a person to the max or worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The burden that hurts the most as a parent. You are suffering, but the biggest key is deep down inside, your kids are not showing it, but you see it. They're suffering even worse. And you don't want that as a parent, especially if your kids are younger. Think about that, guys. Think about that. Your kids are everything to you guys. My kids are my world. I push and I work the hours I put in because of them. Even though they're grown, I don't care if they're 50 and I'm still alive. They are my kids. And I will go to the end of this world for them. You know, you
Yeah.
just don't want this. This is not a joke. Doctor, I worked out 5 days a week. I ran 5 days a week. I played sports every other weekend. That's one thing my daughter looked forward to is taking the trips for the sporting events I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just it doesn't matter how healthy you are. COVID don't care. It's to be number 4 to survive, and all of us, doctor, all of us were unvaccinated. When I was able to be taken in a wheelchair around the hospital, I got to see all the different rooms, and I got to talk to some families that were there at the bottom, just this and that. And all of them would tell me, "Were you vaccinated?" I said, "No, ma'am." She's like, "Neither are my people." And I was like, and I tell them, all I can wish is the best for you, and I hope they make it. I remember talking to one mom. They took me down. I'd wanted to get some sun. And I'm like, I'm tired of being here. And they're like, we could take you down. They had a nice little area. And I was like, all right, let's go down there. We went down there. And I remember talking to this mom, and she's just like, my daughter's not doing too well. And she didn't tell me the exact age, but her daughter was like 40 some years old. And I remember talking to her. We had a conversation. And I want to say it was probably, what time was it? It had to have been after dinner because dinner had just came. Because I could see them doing the trays. I was still on liquids, of course. I couldn't eat. Um, but I remember her crying and everything. And she cried, and I saw the nurse, and I asked the nurse. I just talked to that lady downstairs. What happened? And she had just advised me that her daughter just passed away. And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I hope she pulls through, like everything. Like, it was just countless hearing families cry, countless.
Yeah.
Not only that, if here's the thing, I'm gonna say it like this: if you survive, your troubles are just starting, and I'm not trying to scare you. They're just starting because I can't even lay flat on my bed because I get so dizzy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to change my bed sheets, my pillow sheets, and rotate them because I sweat so much. Yesterday it was 25 degrees outside and I was sweating. I had to turn on the air conditioner,
Wow. Wow.
you know.
Yeah.
But it just, yeah.
Well,
I
I
don't
want
wish
to.
this for anybody.
I just wanted to remind people. So I saw people have posted your Venmo account,
Hmm.
and if there's anybody on here that has the means um, to donate to Chow, I think the Venmo is on your profile.
Yeah, I
Is that a
have my
preferred way
I have
for
the
people to help you
Venmo,
financially?
and then the Cash App. We made it under my daughter.
Okay. Is there one that you prefer over the other, or is it doesn't matter?
It don't matter. It's all connected to the same thing.
Yeah. So anybody who's watching it that has the means and wants to help, obviously that's not going to fix everything, but it's going to, as you've been saying, the there's so many facets to what you've experienced, not just financially, but emotionally and psychologically and physically, and it's harmed
Mm-hmm.
your family, and you lost your beloved mother, and so obviously it's not going to do everything, but hopefully that this people can help out a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Like
I'm
I
so
said, I
sorry for
tell
everything.
people, see, this is why I fight the misinformation because I'm vaccinated
Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
And I'm like, this vaccine is safe. It's safe, guys. It is safe.
It is.
And
It
my
absolutely is.
condition, if it was so bad with the popped left lung and everything I
Yeah.
still have, it would have already taken me out. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
but I knew my mom, before she came to the States, she was a nurse in Mexico. And
Hmm.
she did it for a long time. And we've always been about medicine. Everything's about medicine to
Yeah.
keep you going.
Yeah.
And this is why I fight a lot of this misinformation. See, so when some people come at me, they're like, oh, well, see, you were vaccinated. I said, no, you didn't see my videos. Like, I was never vaccinated. Like, not again. I tell them I wasn't against the vaccine. It was
Yeah,
too late.
yeah.
You know, like you
Well,
just don't want this.
it's really admirable your advocacy and what you're doing on
Mhm.
TikTok and elsewhere to just not only share your story because it's not only nobody can understand what you've gone through. It's not possible. But to willing to share your story, which sharing it itself is probably traumatizing.
Mhm.
But it's just very admirable for you to do this and to fight disinformation. You don't have to do any of this. You don't have to do any of this.
But
So
I
I just really
choose
admire
to
you.
because I just
Yeah.
don't want America's already suffering. Not only that, doctor, me being in the hospital for that long, not only is we citizens are suffering, but our healthcare workers. Like I tell them, like, don't ever second guess your job. Like you're doing your job. Rather, if they live or not, I'm not saying it in a negative way. You did your job. You can't control that. If you could, believe me, you'd keep the on switch on and everybody would live. But you can't. And this is why I keep telling people like we are in a crisis, not only that, where our healthcare workers are still taking the time out of their day to educate us more and more. Like, stop with the misinformation because if I'm that person, doctor, if you're going to attack a healthcare worker, ask for good questions. Don't get me wrong, ask your questions,
Hmm.
but don't go to spread misinformation. If you are against the vaccine and you just don't want it, fine, but don't spread misinformation.
Yeah.
Don't cause somebody else harm
It's
because
deadly.
yes, like there could be somebody that's iffy on the fence because of the good information, the right information, and they see the bad information. So that puts them on the fence. Stop that. Don't put them in that kind of jeopardy. Let them talk to their physicians. Let them talk to everything they got to do and let them determine for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
love that attitude. I love it. I totally agree.
It just stop with that because if I see you attacking nurses and I run into your page, a lot of my friends on here will tell you I will stitch that video and I will stop you right then and there. Like, no, you are lying. Stop. Stop
Yeah.
lying. You know?
Yeah. And I love how you're not only defending nurses, hearing your story, we heard so many different types of healthcare workers that helped you survive.
Hmm.
Nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapy, occupational therapy, nutrition, dietitians, pharmacists. I
Hmm.
mean, there's so many people that are up in this that have helped you where you've gotten today. And I think defending them
Yes.
and also
Hmm.
pointing out how I physical therapists in particular saved your life. I
Yeah.
mean, they get
I'm going to
people
say
out of the
it this way,
hospital.
doctor, and I'm not throwing nobody's shade on religion. I'm Catholic, but I got to be it like this. And this is me saying it only, okay? This is towards nobody else. This is just me. God didn't save me. The doctors and nurses did. God is healing me. And I'm going to put
Love
it
that.
that way now.
I love it. I love that.
Okay.
I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Yeah. Is there any advice from your experience that you would give healthcare workers of from everything that you've gone through? Is there anything that you would want someone like me to know or whoever's on other healthcare providers that are on here? Is there anything to do different to be aware of?
So I'm going to say it like this. And this is the reason I said this phrase. I love looking outside, and I remember when the nurses would take me to the trees.
Hmm.
I made a video not too long ago, and I know the stress that's happening on these nurses and doctors. So I made this video and I said, and let me explain why I said it this way. Right now, nurses and doctors are feeling so lost because you have a lot of people against you, and that's wrong. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we'd have more, probably millions of us dead, Millions of us dead right
Mm-hmm.
now with this pandemic. You guys are doing everything in your power to save us. And I will be damned if I'm going to let somebody discredit you from your titles. You earned your titles. You guys just didn't go to school for 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 5 years of clinicals for no dang reason. You know what I mean? Like nurses, they didn't just get their undergrad and do all those free hours at the hospital for no reason. So I made a video saying, "Good morning, nurses. Right now, I know I was awake about 4:30 in the morning, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I got to post this for them. I got to. They need to know that there is still millions of us behind you guys, and you guys aren't getting enough credit for what you're doing. Do I believe you guys are underpaid during this pandemic? Hell yeah, I do. Let's stop paying all this money somewhere else and take care of the people who are saving our butts. Stop it." Because not only
Yeah.
that, they are putting in countless hours, overtime, everything just to keep us alive. Or if they can't save us, to get the best comfort we can get before it's our time to leave this earth.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I made this video and I said, "Good morning, nurses. I know right now you're getting up, you're looking in the mirror, you're brushing your teeth, washing your face." I said, "And you feel lost inside. But let me tell you one thing, you are not lost inside. You feel seasoned. And this is why I say season. Let's take the trees, for example. In the summer, they're blooming, they're looking great. Let's just take it as a pandemic. But then when the darkness hits, those leaves fall off. But just because those leaves fell off does not make that tree not beautiful. You're still beautiful. It's glowing inside. You just got to hear the words. This is why I say, go shine. Go live bright. Well, the minute you walk through those doors, you are blooming and you are shining. And no matter the outcome of the day, if it's good or bad, you can't save everybody. We know that. But you walk with pride because you did your job. You did your job. So
Wow.
just because the roses aren't blooming doesn't mean it's not beautiful. You guys are just losing a little bit of your leaves because of people pushing it away. It is our job for us to show you guys that you guys got this. And you do. You do. No matter the outcome, you walk with pride. And you go home and you enjoy the time with your families. If you're single, go get a glass of wine. If you drink beer, go drink a beer and smile. Don't second guess your job because that's going to lead you into some dark place that's going to be
Yeah.
hard. And I know a lot of you nurses are there right now. And that's okay because you know what? This pandemic has shown me there is a lot of selfish people out there. And I'll be damned on this app, excuse my language, doctor, that I'm going to let anybody discredit you guys. No, no. Do you need our support? I am with my kids. The Lord is healing me right now, but He didn't save me. If I have two broken arms and two broken legs, I don't go to church. I go to a doctor. I go to the hospital.
Wow. You have just so many beautiful things to say for so many people. I just, I'm kind of speechless. I think you're an incredible advocate. I think you're an incredible person. I
Thank you.
just, your spirit is just shining. Wow. I'm kind of, this is a very special conversation for me to be part of. I don't think I've ever
Just
had a
know that,
conversation
doctor.
like this before.
No matter the outcome, you win. Sometimes you cure somebody, but it does they still don't live. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You did your job. At the end of the day, you can only control so much.
Yeah.
This is why I say, even if I'm just saying, say I passed away yesterday. At the end of the day, you guys gave me 9 more months or 8 more months, 7, whatever, of life to be with my kids. The rest is up to me and God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you did your jobs. And believe me, all this stuff I've put in my book.
You have a
My book,
you've written a book.
well, still in the process,
Uh-huh.
you
About
know.
your experience.
Yeah, my experience, and I put in there a lot of nurses. I didn't specify names for security reasons, legal purposes, and
Yeah.
everything, you know. But it just, I tell people like, stop discrediting the nurse because one day you're gonna need them. You're gonna need
Yeah.
them. You guys, I've always said this, and this is coming from working, ex law enforcement from the jail and all that to becoming an engineer. We take bullets physically outside. You guys take them too. Here's the difference. You take them mentally. And this is why I say this because I saw it in the hospital. I remember nurses going into the hallway. I remember a nurse sitting down at the desk crying. And I know what she's thinking. She's thinking, what could I have done better? What could I have done to do to save their life? And this is
Yeah.
why I say don't second guess your job. Don't. Trauma is real. PTSD is real for us and for you guys. This is the thing that this dang world and country is not understanding is we're pretty much throwing you guys to the wolves and saying deal with it whatever. No, no, a human being is going to say we are here for you guys. Like let us know what
Yeah.
we can do as a society to help you guys. We may not know all the medical stuff or anything in that hospital, but if we can go ahead and save you mentally and just let you know that you are loved by millions of us, and I say it all the time, you're loved by Chow Papa, and you guys have my full support.
Wow. Well, I guess on behalf of everybody that's watching, healthcare workers that are watching, I'll say thank you for just everything. I think you have I think you're just a beautiful person, and you have an incredible way of telling your story, and I think your insight on not only what you've been through, but the social impact and the psychological impact, and there's so many things we could talk about more.
Mhm.
There's so many facets of this, our healthcare system, and if we could, and we should do more live. I want to do 1,000 lives of
Sure.
you, talking more about if it would be okay with you, your experience as a Mexican American
Hmm.
man in our healthcare system, and the
Hmm.
disparities and the outcomes with with uh, you know with that. Would be a topic I would love to chat more with you
Oh
about,
yeah.
and
You know. You know,
yeah.
I got to bring this
I,
situation up, and I shouldn't, but I will on this live. Um, I'm infuriated inside, and believe me, I've already written emails to my governor about this because I actually keep in contact with the governor because I advocate for my state, and
mhm.
I'm infuriated that they're putting a cap on you guys. Oh my God, I am pissed
it's
about that. No,
it's
I'm
ridiculous.
pissed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what are you doing? I got into a debate with the guy yesterday, and the guy's like, well, they're making 10K a month. And I said, dude, do you realize that 10K a month of how much overtime they're putting in? It's not like they're just making that kind of money, man. They're
yeah.
working 612, 615s. Like, are you kidding me? Like, take away all that, and they're back to, I mean, don't quote me on this, and I'm not throwing any negative, but they're back to 50, 60, maybe 70,000 a year. If that, you know what I'm saying? Right now is a time
Yeah,
where you don't put a cap on the people that are saving us. What are you
absolutely.
thinking?
It's ridiculous. It's all about trying to they're just trying to keep the nursing market less competitive. They don't want to
Hmm.
pay nurses to stay at their jobs. They don't want to pay them more to
Hmm.
keep them there. So they just want to cap traveling nurses' pay. So they
No,
all just make
not
money.
only that,
It's
though. Not only that, most of that money that they make, I know because I was six figures before I lost everything. Before I lost my home, my vehicle, one of my vehicles, everything. All that extra money is nothing but taxes.
Yeah, right,
It's going back into the
right,
government.
right. And paying for a bloated healthcare insurance that
Hmm.
doesn't pay out, and it's just yeah, like it's so upsetting talking about it.
Yeah.
I would love to have more chats. I think there's so much we could talk about. I think your perspective is just it's
Well, I'm
invaluable.
letting all you guys know that me and my daughter are looking into it. We can't promise, but I have a friend that has some free tickets, airline, and he told me if I needed them, and I had got in contact with him. I'm gonna be in Washington on May. I'm like, no,
Okay,
like
okay,
I will sit there and as a COVID long hauler, like we owe them everything, everything. Like you don't understand. Like, yes, we take care of our military, especially when we're at war. This is
yeah,
what we're doing right now. We are at war with
yes,
our own people, our own people.
yeah, wow, yeah.
So yeah,
Well, let's.
you
I
know,
think we should.
believe me, I'll make sure, guys, that I'm there. I can't promise, but I'm gonna try my best because of my finances.
Mhm.
But if my buddy comes through with those tickets, I can pull it off because I don't have to pay for airfare, you know. But either if I'm not there, I'm there spirit with you guys. Like, I know people will go live and I'll be joining. Like, no, like, I don't think so. Like, I will write, again, I will blow up my governor's office and say, yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, I could speak for my state and I'll try to speak for others, but you will not do that to the people that are saving us,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, you're an incredible advocate. I think your work is just starting. Just your perspective and everything you have to say is incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
Your words are incredibly powerful, and your story is incredibly powerful. So I thank you for sharing your story, and I want to talk more. I want to do more. Let's do this a
Yes, sir.
bunch.
Yeah,
I,
just let me know whenever you're ready, and you know.
okay.
And like I said, I'm here. I'm that jerk that I'm the nicest guy, doctor. But when you mess with the people
Yeah.
that I hold highly in my heart, especially, again, I can't say it enough. I am alive because of you
Yeah.
guys. I'm not alive because of my good old Lord. He's healing me right now.
Mhm.
But you guys did everything in your power to save my life. And I will never
Well,
second guess. I never have second guessed a doctor. I've questioned a few things, but I've
yeah,
never
you
said, "Oh
should.
no, doctor," no. Like no, like they know better than we do. Why go see a doctor if you don't believe in them? It makes
Hmm.
no sense.
Yeah.
Don't waste
Yeah.
their time.
I think always question your doctors is a good and healthy thing to make sure that they're
Hmm.
thinking things through clearly.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. If you're going to question the entire premise of healthcare and scientific method and evidence-based medicine, if you're going to question that, why even come through the door?
Exactly.
It's a kind of a paradox. Yeah, but yeah.
Mm.
Well, I wanted to remind everybody. So your Venmo account is on your profile,
Yeah, and
um,
the cash app.
and a Cash App for anybody that has the means to donate to Chow Papa. And I'm just so grateful for you sharing your story. Let's set up another live soon. Let's do
Yes,
it
sir.
again soon. We have such an amazing community. I've been kind of keeping an eye on like a couple comments here or there. You have so much support. You have so many people that love you and that are. And I honestly, you're such an incredible advocate. I think your work is just beginning, and I would love to help you and support you with whatever. So let's do it again soon. Okay.
Thank you, doc. Okay. Well,
All
everybody,
right.
thank you for joining, and you guys be
Yeah.
safe, stay safe, wear your mask. I still wear mine. I make sure my kids wear theirs. Like, and either way, we're vaccinated, but still, though, I don't think so. We wear masks. It's like it's just called caring for your people.
That's
It's all it
right.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. Well,
All
we'll
right,
sign
guys.
off. We'll do it again soon. Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Love
you.
you guys later, doctor.
Thank you. See ya.